question for Susan Collins, for Mitt Romney, for other Ben Sasse in the Senate is, what do you want to co-sign if their own defenses fact-check themselves?
Okay, what you do is you make an announcement like Mitch McConnell did the other day. This is not a courtroom. This is not a fact-finding mission. This is not about truth or untruth. This is a simple roll call as to what party you're in. I remember Pat Monahan, who I used to worship, I still do in his memory, and he basically walked into the Clinton trial. He didn't like Clinton. I don't think he liked either Clinton, to be honest with you. And he went into that trial and said, I could see it was a partisan vote. I'm just going to do the partisan vote. I mean, that was somewhat cynical. I will play the game everybody else is playing. Bobby Byrd did the same thing. He didn't like the Clintons. He said, this is a partisan vote. I'm a Democrat. I know where to vote.
Yeah, well, that kind of ignores the fact that it's the Republicans that generally were waving their Constitution in my face and saying, we've got to take the original text. We've got to live by the original text. And I don't think the framers expected impeachment to be a partisan exercise. I think the framers clearly thought the original intent was this would be a process where there would be some oversight of the executive branch by the legislative branch.
And that was the days when senators were appointed.
Correct.
So they were like the guardian class. They weren't regular people.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. You know, when you said that Nancy Pelosi had gotten everybody in line, that was a little bit like fingernails on a blackboard to me, because when people used to accuse me of doing whatever Chuck Schumer said, I was like, no. I think what these moderates actually did, I think they united. Yeah. Everybody wasn't for impeachment until Trump's behavior. Trump's behavior
How did
is
you know when to go then?
Because the behavior became public. He was openly and blatantly asking foreign governments to interfere in our elections. When he did that, there was no turning back, and the evidence is clear on its face, and I think that's what brought the moderates in line, not the discipline of Nancy Pelosi.
I think understanding what would move them and what move it, suburbanite people, a lot of these better educated suburbs like around Philly, I know them, they read the Times, they read the Inquirer, they keep up. And one thing that the House has succeeded at in this whole thing was getting what happens on the House floor into the big newspapers the next day. They may not have reached the Dancing with the Stars audience, the regular people out there, but they certainly got into the print people. And if you can have television help print do the job that print does so well, then everybody knows the facts.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.